You have seen it before. It is a flicker, lasting less than a second. You are speaking to someone, a boss, a new partner, perhaps even a friend, and for a brief moment, the light behind their eyes vanishes. The social mask slips. The warmth evokes a chill. In that micro moment, you are not looking at a person, you are looking at a void. Carl Jung warned us about this specific hollowness. He suggested that there are signals, ancient and primal, that alert us to the presence of a predator. The most potent of these signals is not aggression, and it is not anger. It is a sudden, absolute absence of feeling. It is the flat, dead stare of something that is observing you not as a human being, but as an object to be maneuvered. But here is the terrifying part. Here is the reason you clicked on this video, and the reason your stomach tightens when you think about it too deeply. You have recognized this same deadness in the mirror. You have woken up on days where the world asks for your empathy, and you find your pockets empty. You listen to a friend cry over a breakup, or watch a tragedy unfold on the news, and instead of the rush of sadness you know you should feel, you feel a pristine, glacial calm. You perform the nodding, you say the soothing words, but behind your eyes, the shutters are down. You are watching the scene from a great distance, separated by a thick pane of glass. And in the silence of your own mind, a question begins to fester. Am I one of them? Am I broken? Have I become the predator? Let me stop you right there. Take a breath. The fact that you are asking this question is the proof that you are not the monster. A true predator never worries about their lack of empathy. They view it as an advantage. What you are experiencing is not the predator's void. You are experiencing something I call the emotional firewall. This numbness you feel? It is not a sin. It is not a defect in your soul. It is a biological and psychological emergency brake that your mind has pulled because you have cared too much, for too long, for people who did not return the investment. This coldness is not your enemy. In fact, if you learn to understand it, this detachment is your greatest superpower. It is the gateway to a state of being that Jung hinted at, a level of consciousness where you can observe the chaos of the world without being consumed by it. Imagine being able to walk through a firestorm of other people's drama and remain untouched, not because you are cruel, but because you are sovereign. Imagine possessing the ability to see the truth of a situation instantly, stripped of emotional fog. That is the destination, but to get there, we must first walk through the valley of the shadow without getting trapped in the dark. Carl Jung spent a lifetime analyzing the shadow, the hidden, often repressed side of the human psyche. He argued that when we suppress our darker impulses, they do not disappear. They simply go underground and operate autonomously. However, Jung also understood that the psyche is a self-regulating system. Just as the body produces a fever to burn out an infection, the mind produces dissociation, or detachment, to survive an environment that has become toxic. When Jung spoke of the affectless state, the lack of visible emotion, he was often describing a dangerous disintegration of the personality. But he also knew that the wise man, the fully realized individual, possesses a quality of detached observation. Modern neuroscience has finally caught up to Jung's intuition. We now know that when the brain is subjected to chronic emotional stress, the mirror neurons, the parts of your brain responsible for feeling what others feel, can literally become exhausted. To protect your prefrontal cortex from decision fatigue and your body from the corrosive effects of cortisol, your brain initiates an empathy down regulation. It is a biological circuit breaker. Your brain is not broken, it is simply in power-saving mode. It has erected a barrier to stop you from bleeding out. But this brings us to the danger. While this state is a defense mechanism, it is seductive. It feels safe. It feels powerful. And because it mimics the cold calculation of the predator, It can trick you into believing that you have lost your humanity. If you stay in this mode unconsciously, without a map, you risk drifting away from reality entirely. You risk becoming a ghost in your own life. Perhaps you are like Julian. Let us consider the case of Julian. He is not a sociopath. In fact, for most of his life, Julian was known as the sensitive one. He was the architect of his family's peace, the therapist for his friends, the reliable ear for his colleagues. He absorbed the anxieties of his mother, the anger of his father, and the heartbreaks of his peers. He was a sponge for the emotional waste of everyone around him. Then, somewhere around his 32nd year, something snapped. It wasn't a dramatic breakdown. There was no screaming match. It was quiet. Julian sat in a meeting where his boss was berating the team, a situation that usually would have made his heart race and his palms sweat. But this time, Julian felt nothing. He looked at his boss's red face and saw only a biological organism making noise. He looked at his fearful colleagues and felt no urge to comfort them. He felt a strange, crystalline clarity. He felt lighter. At first, Julian treated this new lack of feeling as a gift. He became hyper-efficient. He set boundaries he could never set before because he simply didn't care about the pushback. He called this his stoic phase. But soon, the coldness began to spread. He would come home to his partner, who wanted to share the joy of a promotion, and Julian could only mimic a smile. He felt like an alien anthropologist studying a human ritual. The connection was severed. He began to isolate himself, not because he disliked people, but because the effort of pretending to be human was exhausting him. He was terrified that if he stopped pretending, everyone would see the predator inside him. Does this sound familiar? If you recognize Julian's struggle, if you have felt that terrifying shift from caring too much to caring about nothing, I want you to pause. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to apologize for the wall you have built. If you are watching this, it is likely that you have spent years being the emotional anchor for others. You have paid your dues. What you are feeling now is compassion bankruptcy. You have spent every coin in your vault, and now the bank is closed. This is the crucial pivot point. This is where most people get lost. They assume that because the bank is closed, they are now poverty-stricken monsters. They begin to hate themselves for their numbness, which only deepens the depression and isolation. But Jung would argue that this closing of the bank is actually an invitation. It is a signal from the self, the center of your psyche, that the old way of operating is dead. You cannot go back to being the sponge. You cannot go back to being the naive empath who absorbs every stray emotion in the room. You are being forced to evolve. You are being pushed toward a higher form of existence, one where you do not absorb, but instead observe. To navigate this, we must break down the experience of this predator signal into 3 distinct stages. You need to identify exactly where you are on this map, because the solution for one stage is poison for another. The first stage is what I call the static fuzz. This is the early onset. It usually manifests as a sudden intolerance for small talk or drama. You find yourself physically irritated by people repeating their problems without looking for solutions. You might feel a buzzing pressure in your head when someone tries to unload their emotional baggage onto you. This is not hatred. This is your nervous system screaming, storage full. In this stage, your behavior changes subtly. You stop asking how are you, because you are terrified of the answer. You start avoiding eye contact, not out of shyness, but to avoid the hook of engagement. You are instinctively trying to plug the leaks in your energy field. Reframing this is critical. This is not you becoming antisocial. This is strategic withdrawal. Your psyche is attempting to create a quarantine zone so it can heal. You are not rejecting people. You are rejecting the parasitic dynamic that has drained you. However, if you ignore the need for withdrawal, if you force yourself to keep socializing and pretending, you slip into the second, more dangerous stage. This second stage is the glass wall. This is where Julian found himself. In this stage, you are present physically, but absent spiritually. You can look someone in the eye, hear their words, and intellectually understand their pain. But the bridge from your mind to your heart has been destroyed. You feel like a camera recording events. This is the stage where the fear of the predator becomes acute. You might catch your reflection in a shop window and see a hard, flat expression that shocks you. You might find yourself capable of cutting people out of your life with surgical precision and zero remorse. The danger here is immense, not because you will hurt others. People in this stage rarely attack, they usually retreat, but because you will begin to believe the lie that you are incapable of love. You will start to identify with the coldness. You will think, this is who I am now. I am ice. But listen closely. This is not a lack of feeling. This is high-voltage protection. The reason the wall is so thick is that the sensitivity behind it is so intense. If the wall came down right now, the flood of accumulated emotion would destroy you. The glass wall is holding back a tidal wave. It is a dam, and dams are not built where the water is low. They are built where the pressure is highest. So, how do we dismantle the dam without drowning the village? How do we turn this predator's gaze into the sage's vision? The answer lies in a concept Jung called enantiodromia, the tendency of things to turn into their opposites. But we don't need the Greek term. Let's call it the pendulum swing. You have swung from extreme empathy to extreme apathy. To stop the swinging, you must find the center. You must learn the art of the active witness. This brings us to the third and final stage. This is the deepest water, the place where the current is strongest. It is the abyssal mirror. In this stage, the numbness of the glass wall begins to curdle into something sharper: contempt. You look at the people around you, their chaotic relationships, their need for validation, their inability to sit in silence, and you feel a cold, rising disgust. You see their vulnerability not as something to protect, but as a weakness to be exploited or avoided. This is the moment where you truly feel like the predator. You might find yourself thinking thoughts that terrify you. Why are you crying? Stop being so pathetic. I could crush you with one sentence right now. This is the shadow taking the wheel, because you have starved your own emotional needs for so long. Your psyche has decided that needs themselves are the enemy. You begin to despise in others what you have repressed in yourself. This is the danger zone Jung warned of, where the shadow possesses the ego. If you stay here, you become bitter, isolated, and truly cold. You become the tyrant of your own small, empty kingdom. But even here, in this dark water, there is a hidden gift. Reframing this stage requires courage, but it is the key to your freedom. This contempt you feel, it is not evil. It is misdirected vitality. It is your backbone trying to reassemble itself after years of being a doormat. Your aggression is finally waking up. It is clumsy, it is rude, and it is overcorrecting, but it is alive. It is the part of you that refuses to be used. The goal is not to kill this aggression, but to tame it. You must take this raw, jagged energy and polish it into assertiveness. You must stop despising others for their weakness and start respecting yourself for your strength. You are not broken. You are simply in the chrysalis of a new personality structure. You are moving from the unconscious empath, the victim of everyone's feelings, to the conscious observer. So, how do we complete this transformation? How do we integrate this coldness so it serves us, rather than rules us? Jung called the solution individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. But that is a high-concept term. Let's bring it down to the ground. We need to install a new operating system for your empathy. We call this the gatekeeper protocol. Right now, Your empathy operates like an open door. Anyone can walk in, track mud on the carpet, and steal the furniture. You feel responsible for the emotional climate of every room you enter. The gatekeeper protocol changes the door to a window. Imagine you are in a house, your mind. When someone approaches with a crisis, with high emotion, with a demand for your energy, do not open the door. Instead, approach the window. You can see them clearly, you can hear them perfectly, you can understand their pain with absolute precision. But the glass remains closed, you are safe inside. This is not indifference. This is cognitive empathy versus emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is when your friend is drowning, so you jump in the water and drown with them to show you care. Cognitive empathy is throwing them a rope while remaining firmly planted on the shore. To practice this, you must learn the power of the silent pause. The next time you feel that pull to fix someone, or that wave of exhaustion when someone vents to you, do not speak immediately. Do not offer a solution. Do not offer a soothing noise. Simply breathe. Take 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, visualize the glass window. Remind yourself, I can see your pain, but I am not the cause of it, and I am not the vessel for it. Then, speak from that place of safety. You will find your voice is lower, calmer, and more grounded. You might say, that sounds incredibly heavy, instead of, oh my God, let me help you with that. Do you feel the difference? The first is an observation, the second is a contract. When you stop signing contracts you cannot fulfill, your energy returns. The predator's void fills up with your own life force. This transition will feel strange. People who are used to using you as a sponge will panic. They will ask, what's wrong? You seem distant. They will try to poke the old wounds to get the old reactions. This is the final test. When they accuse you of being cold, do not apologize. Do not retreat into guilt. Recognize this accusation for what it is, the friction of a boundary being drawn where none existed before. You are retraining the world on how to treat you. You are teaching them that you are no longer a public utility. You are a private garden, and yes, the gate is locked. As you master the gatekeeper protocol, something miraculous happens. The predator's signal, that dead stare, that hollowness, disappears. It is replaced by a gaze that is intense, yes, but not empty. It becomes the sage's gaze. You become the person who can sit in the middle of a crisis and not panic. You become the rock that others can hold on to, precisely because you are not swaying with every breeze. You are no longer cold, you are solid. This is the destination Jung envisioned for us. He did not want us to be good little conformists who smile when we are angry and give until we break. He wanted us to be whole. He wanted us to possess the capacity for great coldness, so that our warmth would have meaning. A fire is only valuable because it is contained. A fire without a hearth burns down the house. You have built the hearth. You have survived the cold. If you have watched this far, it means the shift is already happening. You are waking up from the trance of obligation. You are beginning to realize that your first duty is not to save the world, but to secure your own footing within it. Do not fear the void you felt in the mirror. That void was just space clearing out. It was the universe sweeping your house clean of old clutter to make room for the new. You are not a predator. You are a protector who is finally learning to protect the most important asset you have, your own consciousness. Walk with your head high. Let the silence be your shield. Let your observation be your contribution. The world has enough people drowning in the noise. It needs those who can stand on the shore and watch the tide without being swept away. See you in the next dimension.